People walked past her as if she was invisible. The rain poured heavily over the crowded city street, cars splashing water as they sped by. On the cold pavement lay an old woman, trembling, her breath shallow, her voice weak as she tried to call for help. But no one stopped. Some stared, some whispered, but every single one of them walked away, until a young woman named Hannah saw her. Hannah had finished her long shift at the diner, exhaustion weighing on her shoulders. Life had not been kind to her. She worked 2 jobs just to pay for her small rented room and her younger brother's school fees. But regardless of how tired she was, Hannah's heart never turned cold. When she saw the old woman struggling to breathe, her umbrella slipped from her hand and she rushed toward her without a second thought. "Please, stay with me. I'm here." "You're not alone," Hannah whispered, placing her coat over the woman's fragile body. The old woman looked at her with teary eyes as if she couldn't believe someone finally cared. "My name is Eleanor," she managed to say. "I can't feel my legs." Hannah called an ambulance immediately and held Eleanor's hand the entire time, sheltering her from the rain until help arrived. The doctors later told Hannah that if she hadn't acted so quickly, Eleanor might not have survived. Hannah visited Eleanor every day after work, bringing her home-cooked soup, reading to her, and making her laugh. It turned out Eleanor had no one by her side, at least, that's what she believed. But Eleanor was not a poor forgotten woman. She was the grandmother of one of the wealthiest young CEOs in the entire city, Adrian Blackwell, a man known for his sharp business mind and cold demeanor. He had been away on a business trip and knew nothing of what had happened. Weeks later, when Eleanor had recovered enough, Adrian finally showed up at the hospital. Tall, well-dressed, with a stern expression, he walked into the room expecting to see his grandmother alone. Instead, he found Hannah feeding Eleanor soup with a spoon, patiently blowing on it so it wouldn't burn her tongue. Both of them looked up, surprised. Eleanor smiled. "Adrian, this is the angel who saved my life." Adrian stared at Hannah longer than he intended. Something about her sincerity disarmed him. "Thank you," he said, his voice low, almost unfamiliar to himself. He was used to commanding people, not expressing gratitude. Hannah simply smiled and said, "Anyone would have done the same." But that wasn't true, and Adrian knew it. As days passed, Adrian noticed how happy his grandmother was whenever Hannah visited. Eleanor glowed with life again, and eventually Adrian offered Hannah a better-paying job in his company, not out of pity, but because he saw how hard-working and capable she was. Hannah accepted through tears of gratitude because it meant she could finally support her brother without collapsing from stress. Working near Adrian, she saw that beneath his cold exterior was a man burdened by responsibility, abandoned by friends who only wanted his money. Although they were from different worlds, they began to understand each other. Their connection grew slowly, gently, like a sunrise after a long night. But not everyone liked that. Some employees mocked Hannah, claiming she was only after wealth. Rumors spread, and one day Hannah overheard a group whispering that she was a gold digger pretending to be kind. The words cut her deeply. She decided to resign rather than cause trouble for Adrian or his grandmother. When she went to say goodbye to Eleanor, the old woman held her hands tightly, refusing to let go. "Do not leave because of their ignorance," Eleanor whispered. "Good hearts are rare. And I will not let them break yours." At that moment, Adrian walked in. His eyes softened seeing Hannah's tears. He had heard everything. Without hesitation, he wrapped his arm around her protectively. "If anyone here should leave," Adrian said in a commanding voice, "it's the ones who judge others without knowing their story." The next day, he personally cleared Hannah's name and invited her to sit beside him in a board meeting, showing everyone just how much he respected her. Months passed, and Adrian realized he wasn't just grateful to Hannah, he was in love with her. Eleanor saw it before he even said a word. One peaceful evening, as the sunset painted the sky, Adrian took Hannah to the same place where she had once saved Eleanor. It was no longer a place of sadness, but of destiny. He took her hands and said, "You taught me more than any business deal ever could. You taught me what it means to care, to see people, to not walk away. Hannah, will you stay in my life, not as an employee, but as the woman I love?" Tears filled her eyes, but she smiled. "Yes, Adrian. I will." Eleanor attended their wedding in a wheelchair, crying tears of overwhelming joy. She looked at Hannah and whispered, "The world ignored me, but you didn't. and because of that, you healed more hearts than you know. Hannah squeezed her hand and replied, "You were never invisible, just waiting for someone to see you." In the end, the story of Hannah and Eleanor became a reminder to everyone. Sometimes the person you save is the one who saves you right back. And sometimes the smallest act of kindness becomes the beginning of a love story the world never saw coming.